we got here just in the nick of time. What does that make us?
Big damn heroes, sir.
Ain't we just?
Question 1. What are the orbs associated with chemtrails? Done quite a bit of digging around the internets on this, and I haven't seen any evidence whatsoever that shows that these are anything more than the optical illusions or natural phenomena that they appear to be. In the first place, the eyewitness accounts, which are pretty thin on the ground, frankly, don't indicate behavior like any type of an actual flying vehicle, except for possibly a balloon that's being blown around by the wind. In fact, in the vast majority of cases, the eyewitnesses didn't report seeing anything out of the ordinary until they went back and looked at their pictures. This indicates to me that most of the orbs in question are not, in fact, physical phenomena, but are nothing more than imaging artifacts of the camera, much like the rods that turned up on videotapes a few years ago turned out to be imaging artifacts caused by the flight path of insects through a light. A good case study are this set of images that I'm about to show you. In this picture you see a supposed chemtrail and a normal contrail being left by the aircraft in the center right of the picture. Notice that in this initial picture we don't see the orb, but we do see a bright circle, which is nothing more than the sunlight playing off the camera lens. In the second image, the orb has appeared immediately below the aircraft. Now take a note of a couple of things in this image. The first being that there is a large number of dirt spots on the lens, including one that is roughly centered around the orb in question. Further, notice that the orb is in a more or less direct line from the aberration and the light source at the bottom right of the image, which is undoubtedly the sun. Now notice as we progress to the third image that the orb maintains its position relative to the dirt spots and the reflection on the lens, but not with the contrail X in the background. This orb is undoubtedly some type of imaging artifact caused by contamination on the camera lens. Here's all three images shown in quick succession so that you can see for yourself how the orb maintains its position as the camera moves. Undoubtedly, some orbs are not imaging artifacts. Those orbs undoubtedly account for the handful of naked eye observations of these phenomena. However, I think there are two possible physical explanations for this. The first, and likely more common explanation, would be an aircraft flying at a different altitude that's not itself producing a contrail. Depending on the lighting conditions and the painting of the aircraft, pieces of the aircraft can seem to disappear, including the wings more commonly, or the fuselage. This is nothing more than an optical illusion caused by the distance in the lighting, and in fact has been used by the military to disguise aircraft flying at high altitudes by illuminating their bellies. The second explanation is illustrated in this picture. These are called corpuscular rays. These are caused by an object such as a cloud being backlit, in this case by the sun, and the light rays that pass around it are illuminating a thinner, finer layer of cloud behind it. However, because the object casts a shadow, the interplay between the light and the shadow can create these dramatic ray effects. This is what causes the black line phenomena that has been reported with contrails. And the final variation of this, the black orbs, can be caused by the motion of the air itself. The turbulent motion of the air can cause the light to refract, causing relative light in dark areas. This phenomenon is familiar to anybody who's watched a pot of water boil under a bright light or seen the light and shadows play on the bottom of a swimming pool. Question number 2. What are the U-turns? These are quite easy to explain. These are called holding patterns. Just as with the terrestrial highway system, traffic jams can form in the sky. However, airplanes obviously can't just stop and wait for the traffic to clear like a car can, and so air traffic control will assign what is called a holding pattern. Holding patterns can be pre-published, such as the oval on this chart in the middle of the picture, if they're commonly used, but they can take place at any navigational fix. And pilots are well trained in how to set up a holding pattern and enter it at any given fix. although, to be perfectly honest, we don't get a lot of practice with it these days. Nevertheless, holding does come up, and it occurs far more frequently than you may realize. This chart indicates where holding can take place just in the New York area alone. The dashed line and red number pairs indicate the geographical area and altitudes where air traffic control can assign a holding pattern. If the hold goes on for any length of time, the air in that area may become quickly saturated with water exhaust from the engines, and contrails may form only around the hold and nowhere else. Question 3. What's that extra streak? Sometimes you'll see a contrail photo where there's one more streak coming out of the airplane than there are engines on the airplane. For example, in this picture there are 4 streaks coming from the engines of the airplane plus an extra 5th streak in the middle. The most common cause of this is caused by the operation of the auxiliary power unit, or APU. The APU is a comparatively small jet engine, usually located somewhere in the tail structure of the aircraft. It doesn't provide power to the airplane the way the engines do. That is, it doesn't add any thrust, but what it does do is it provides another source of electrical power and of air for the pressurization system. This is a picture of an APU installed on a 727. Because it is a turbine engine and it burns jet fuel the same as the main engines do, it does produce exhaust vapor. And so the APU can in fact produce its own contrail. Now there are a couple of other potential sources for contrails, one of which is fuel dumping. Now fuel dumping would definitely be a case of an actual chemtrail because it's pure jet fuel being dumped into the air. However, this is only done in an emergency and generally takes place at low altitudes because the airplane has encountered some sort of distress situation during the takeoff phase. Now a second source would be water or other liquids from the galley and lavatories that are dumped overboard, and occasionally this little bugger, the blue ice ball. If the blue water in the toilet develops a leak to the outside of the airplane, it could freeze up and form an ice ball that can actually do some damage, or it could just simply vaporize harmlessly into the air and cause yet another contrail. Question 4. Hades contrails. This is a video picture I took of the actual high altitude en route chart for Haiti and the Southern Caribbean. Now I know it's a little blurry to see because of the camera, but Haiti is at the bottom of this chart, and all those black lines are actual airways running through the Caribbean. So while it's undoubtedly true that there's not a lot of traffic going to or from Haiti, there's plenty of air traffic going someplace else that flies over Haiti. If you look at the left side of this still, you will see that the black line density drops off significantly. That area is Cuba, and overflights, especially for American aircraft, are hard to come by.
If I'm your mission, Shepard, best give it up. You're welcome on my boat. God ain't.